Hey everybody, this is Josh Paul, host of the Small Marketing Teams podcast. I'm really glad that you're checking out the show today. If you're trying to grow your business and you're not a household name or a well-funded startup, you need to do things differently, and that's what we get into on this podcast. If that's you, go ahead and click subscribe on the screen right now so that you'll get notified when we put out new tips, new tutorials, and new advice for small marketing and sales teams. But here's how marketing professor Beyoncé would look at this. She'll say, I'll work hard for a week and a half, not a week, but a week and a half, so that I can generate leads and sales for the next year. Small Marketing Teams, episode 27.
You're listening to the Small Marketing Team Show with Josh Paul, the podcast where you'll learn how to achieve big growth without a big budget.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to today's session of the Small Marketing Teams Show, the podcast that marketers, salespeople, and business owners rely on to learn how to do more with less. Each week, I'll teach you how you can grow your company without the big budgets that we associate with marketing today. Whether you're the only marketer in your company, and you're also the salesperson, the CEO, and the person who does payroll, or you have a marketing team big enough to need an org chart, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Josh Paul. Let's get started. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of the Small Marketing Teams podcast. I'm thrilled that you are taking time out of your day to join me today, and I promise it'll be worth your while. Before we begin today, I want to talk to the people who are running an inbound marketing strategy or have an inbound sales philosophy, but you're feeling stuck. It could be feeling stuck with implementation, or some part of the strategy is not making sense, or you're not getting the results that you want, or you've taken it as far as you can take it and you want to know how to take it to the next level, or you're struggling with internal buy-in. Anything that you are feeling stuck with, anything where you feel like there's a roadblock and you know you could be doing so much more, I want to speak to you because we have another inbound hackathon coming up in a few weeks, and I want to make sure that you are part of it. Our last session was a great 2-hour virtual work session where we talk about your specific issues. We're reviewing people's specific copy. We're looking at your website as a group, and as a group providing feedback to help you get more done, to help you get unstuck, and to help you knock down those roadblocks. To join the next Inbound Hackathon, go to inboundhackathon.com, get your invitation, sign up, and I'll see you there. The story that I'm going to tell you today played a big role in the way that I grew my company. When I would tell my story and share my results as a marketing team of 1, and eventually a marketing team of 2, and then 3, we were a marketing team of 3 when the company was acquired. When I tell that story, people would come up to me and say, how did you produce so much? How even our competitors would come up to me at conference and say, I see you guys everywhere. You are cranking out so much content. You are everywhere where our buyers are, everywhere where our topic is being discussed. Your thought leadership and your content is there. How do you do it? And that's the lesson we're going to get into today. So let me start with a question. How many concerts did you attend last year? I used to go to a lot of concerts, and then as I had kids and life got in the way, I go to fewer and fewer, but I went to 1 or 2 last year. How many did you go to? Did you go to 1? Did you go to 2? Did you go every other weekend? Now, for most performers, a concert is a concert. They move quickly from city to city, scooping up revenue at each performance from the ticket sales and from merchandise sales. What I want to share with you today is a story about how one savvy superstar rejected that model so that she could spend more time on other priorities. This is a story that comes with a very important lesson for marketers. So my wife and daughter recently watched Beyoncé's new concert film, Homecoming. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty incredible. The music is amazing. It's visually stunning. It was her live headline performance at the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival last year, and the whole story behind it. Now, it caught my attention as I was making dinner, and my wife and daughter were watching this, and afterwards I sat down to join them, but by that time I was hooked since I'd been watching it from a distance. Apparently, I'm a little bit out of the loop. I didn't know that this performance had happened. I didn't know it was a big deal when it did happen at Coachella. But apparently the release of this film on Netflix coincided with the new live album featuring these performances. Beyoncé had not released a new album in several years, and since her last album, she had had a very difficult pregnancy and given birth to twins. Beyoncé's big comeback was this Coachella performance in 2018. Leading up to the music festival, Beyoncé and her team had a choice. So they had option number one. They could work really hard to put together this performance for Coachella. Or option number two, they could work slightly harder and accomplish the following. Number one, a headlining Coachella performance. Similar to option one, but that's all they got in option one. But in option two, they got the headlining performance at Coachella, a new live album that would sell hundreds of thousands of copies, and an impactful concert film documentary that is packaged as a cultural moment that will keep Beyoncé on the top of the relevancy ladder for the next year. What do you think they did? They chose to work harder so that they could get more from the effort that they were putting into preparing for the Coachella event. In marketing and sales, I call this approach to prioritizing inputs and outputs a mileage mindset. And it is the key to growing your business with a small marketing team. To understand if you have a mileage mindset, let me ask you a question. How many times have you done the hard thinking and writing around creating a white paper or designing a webinar and then left it in that singular format when the campaign was over? Have you ever prepared for a presentation at a conference or an industry event and then never repurposed that into a webinar, an ebook, or a video series? Beyoncé prepared 4 to 5 months for Coachella. She put in the brutal effort of preparing for a mega concert once, but then she leveraged that work in other assets that would continue to pay off. That's a mileage mindset. Now you may be thinking to yourself, I'm really stretched thin. I don't have time to plan out or repurpose my content to make the most of my investment. Well, Beyoncé had a similar problem. She had twin infants. She had a 6-year-old daughter. She had an extremely busy megastar husband. She was getting pulled in all directions at once. And you know what? She chose to push hard and put in the extra time up front so that her investment would pay dividends for the next 1 to 2 years without her needing to be in the spotlight all the time. You see, content repurposing is not a time suck. It is a marketing strategy for getting hours back in your day. Now, I think Beyoncé is great, but I'm not an avid fan. However, watching this concert film made me realize the brilliant marketing move that Beyoncé employs to do more using less of her time. Just like you, Beyoncé's time and attention is needed elsewhere. But her lesson for content marketers, especially those with small marketing teams, is one that every growth-oriented company needs to take seriously. This is a lesson in leveraging your time. When it comes to marketing, all of the hours that you put into your work are not equal. Beyoncé shows us that 1 hour of work does not need to produce 1 unit of your desired outcome. If she had thought of Coachella as a one-time concert, she would have generated 1 to 3 weeks of buzz and revenue from that one performance. Instead, Beyoncé had a mileage mindset. She was going to get more mileage from the work she was putting in. How about you? If you work for a week to create a new content marketing campaign, it could generate leads for a week or two when you launch that campaign. But here's how marketing professor Beyoncé would look at this. She'll say, I'll work hard for a week and a half, not a week, but a week and a half, so that I can generate leads and sales for the next year. Do you see the difference? Would you rather work hard for a week and generate leads and sales for 1 to 2 weeks? Or would you rather work hard for a week and a half, just a little bit extra time, and generate leads and sales from that effort for the next year? When you create a marketing asset, you have done the hard thinking. You have researched and developed your ideas. You have organized them into production-ready content, whether it's a lead magnet like a report or an ebook or a white paper, or if it's a blog post or a video or a webinar or a presentation or a podcast or many other formats. You have done the hard part. And you may not know this, but you've done the most time-consuming part. Now, Beyoncé's lesson is about putting in a little extra work to get the most from that investment. The beauty of this model is that you're now working with leveraged hours. To create a video series from that ebook, You don't need to put the same amount and type of hours in that you did to plan and create that ebook. The thinking is done. The content is done. Next, channel your inner Beyoncé to take that thought leadership and turn it into multiple potent content assets. But first, you need to understand that Beyoncé did not mix the live album. Beyoncé did not edit the Homecoming concert film. She didn't even upload the finished product to Netflix. She just did the parts that only Beyoncé could do up front. So I recommend outsourcing or offloading to somebody on your team a large portion of the content repurposing. This part of the mileage mindset allows you to work on other strategic initiatives or get started on the next content campaign. Let's take this a step further so that you can start putting this into action today. Here are the steps for you to develop a mileage mindset to turn your content marketing strategy into an engine that will generate traffic, leads, and sales for years to come. Ready? Here we go. Step 1 is evaluate your current marketing and sales assets. You don't need to start with just your new campaigns. You have things created today. Some of them might be out of date or less relevant to your target audience. However, if it's still accurate and important to your audience, put it in the pile of assets to turn into additional formats. Set it aside for repurposing. Step number 2, bring a mileage mindset into your new marketing campaigns. Go into your next content campaign with a plan to turn the upfront thinking and planning and content creation into as many formats as you can over the next few months. And don't forget that with that content creation also comes corresponding mini campaigns to launch those separate pieces of content into the market. So step 3 is picking the right formats. You want to identify the content formats that make the most sense for the content that you're creating, as well as the most sense for your market. If you created an executive report for the buyers in your market, you need to know that turning that content into blog posts or an infographic is going to serve a different purpose and drive different outcomes than using that information in a webinar or an in-person lunch and learn or a presentation at an industry conference. Just know that the formats that you pick and the formats that you repurpose your content into matter. Step 4, prepare your content distribution strategy. As you know, content creation is only half of the growth equation. Just like you did with the original content asset, you need to get each new repurposed asset that you create in front of your buyers. And now, common channels here include emailing your list, digital ads, and partner communication, some co-marketing with partners. But you're going to have to look at your content distribution strategy and make sure that these new assets that you put the time into creating, into repurposing, that you have a distribution strategy to get those in front of buyers. Step 5 is analyze and adjust. All of this content repurposing may feel like a lot of work, but as a leader in your business, you need to set the expectation that content is not fully published until it has been repurposed into 4 or 5 additional formats. So to wrap up today, you need to understand that everything from doing more with less to getting hours back to work on other priorities while leads are automatically generated, all of that starts with your mileage mindset. From there, you need to be clear about the content repurposing process and each person's role in the system. And before you know it, just like Beyoncé, you'll be able to squeeze every drop of marketing and sales power from everything that you produce.